where the shades so green burned sapphire and emerald, down in the little old valley that all men felt they'd seen before, there was a mighty, mighty tree. An apple tree, some said it, a pear tree, others, for in truth it was a most queer tree, for it could bear boughs with both pears and apple. There, amongst a mighty orchard, that to stand in made your world feel young again. High then, on that tree, there dwelt Oberon and Titania in a mighty palace built of wood, hidden by spells to look like just another deep, deep bough of the great tree. And looking out on the world, they saw, up on the high city of men, there was old November quarrelling with his two friends, Placebo, who said what he thought his friend wanted to hear, and Reason, who always said it as it was. And they heard, coming across the air, Reason say, "You are too old. That you are feeling lusty is of no surprise to anyone." And then Placebo replied, "That you are feeling lusty is itself a miracle. You, old November, yes, if you marry Mistress May, in her beautiful white gown, in the glory of her eyes, you will no doubt gain something of your spring again." And when he heard that, old rich November, full of the treasures of the year, skipped with very joy. And Titania turned to Oberon and said, "That does not look like a good marriage, my dear. Not at all, my dear." And Oberon said, Surely, not even humans would be so foolish as to marry vibrant May with sterile November. Strike somebody blind if they do." And Titania smiled and said, "Oh, my husband, I will hold you to that." One day the couple looked out, and they saw coming traipsing before them in marriage gown, there was beautiful May. And it seemed to them that the May blossom bloomed wherever she went, for such was the joy her beauty inspired in their fey folk, that they laughed to see her, and their laughter became flowers. And coming from the other end of the valley, there was quite a different party. An old wizened man, worn down by years and great wealth. It was November, and with him was Placebo, and with him was young May's mother and father, who wore gold and crowns. And they met under the apple tree, and there they swore to be man and wife. And November said, "And as I have now bought this orchard, I am going to put a high wall all around it, and none but I and May may be in it, and we will spend our honeymoon here, in this place of beauty amongst the trees, as the May blossoms." And Oberon grew white with fury, but Titania stayed his hand, for it was a marriage day after all, and they let the feast go on. And Oberon said, If he comes in here again, I shall strike him blind, rather than let him lay hands on that young lady." And Titania smiled. Well, the next thing they knew, indeed, a great wall was being built around the orchard. And Titania came before Oberon and said, "Well, it looks like they are doing as they said. that November really, really is going to fence this orchard and hang that high, beautiful iron gate there to the north, looking to the city. But my husband, no good can come of this marriage. Did you not see who was amongst their guests? Ah, you mean Venus? Yes. Did she have a bow? I do not always see what the love goddess does, but I know you are her special friend. Yes, and she looked very angry. I saw, as the wedding troop went back to the city, she fired a dart, and it hit the heart of Valiance. But that will mean, yes, he was struck with love for the bride. No good can come of this marriage, I tell you. But here they come, let's hide. And so Oberon and Titania climbed up their high tree and watched. And as they watched, lecherous November led beautiful blushing May into the garden and locked the door, putting the key in his pocket. And then he turned and said, "Now, my dear, I have you in this garden, and as I crowned your parents with gold, you are to be mine at last." Just then, true to his gallant word, Oberon struck November blind. And he fell over and said, I cannot see. What will happen to me? I cannot get in, I cannot get out. And May smiled and tried not to laugh and said, "Do not worry, my dear. I will lead you, but you will have to trust me with the key. Let us take you back to the doctors and see if we can get some medicine for you." And so it was. May surrendered. May gained the key of the garden from her husband. And Titania smiled, but Oberon said, "I wonder what will happen next." Well, what happened next was a week or so later. There was a sneaky snick at the gate, and in slid young Valiance, his eyes full of speculation, looking as it were for a tree to climb. Well, the greatest tree to climb, and the easiest perhaps, was the tree for Oberon and Titania. And so up he shinned and lay there on the lowest branch, obvious. A little while later, May came in. She seemed to have a second key, and she was bound by a golden chain to her old husband, who was following her along saying, "Well, I'm not going to let you out of my grip, my dear, for now I am blind. Any man might have you. No, 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 no. You will be my eyes and my ears, and I will have you yet." I can tell by our smell we are in the garden. Now lock the door. And May locked the door, and they came into the garden. Now, it happened to be that time that pears first ripen upon the bough, long before apples do. And with a cunning look, May turned to November and said, "You know, my dear, you must go and pick a pear before anything else, to prove that you are to be my husband, so that I too may blossom and grow as the pear blossoms and grows once I've had it and eaten it and it lies in my stomach." And November looked as one ashamed and said, My wife, you know I cannot climb the tree." "But if you cannot climb the tree, you cannot be my true husband, my dear." "That's an old custom. We do not need to follow it." "I follow an old people, my dear. I need to follow it." Titania tried not to smirk here. And then May said, "Listen, I have a secret for you. Let me climb the tree, for I am the giddy girl. I can get up its branches very, very, very easily. And then I'll bring down the pear, and then you can give it to me. But you'll have to unlock me. And so, November, grumbling all the while, as outside the garden his dogs barked, consented to be led to the tree. And he took from his innermost pocket, his secret pocket, a key, and unlocked for a moment May. And then she had him lie upon the ground, making as it were a stool for his back, climbing on his back, swung up the branch where Valiance was waiting, and Valiance led them far up the tree, where the greatest pears were to be found, succulent, rich, and sweet. And he picked them the most beautiful pear for May, and he gave it to her, and her white teeth flashed into beautiful succulent flesh. And Oberon was quite scandalized. How could she, even if she is such a young bride, sit in our tree and eat the pears? The beautiful pears, taste that fruit that men were not meant to taste. I know what I'm going to do. If her husband was here, he would punish her. I am going to make him see what she is doing. There with Valiance, eating the sweet fruit upon our tree. And Titania said, well, if you are going to do that, then I am going to give her the silver tongue of the fairies, that she can get out of anything. All right, my dear, all right. And Oberon struck November quite sighted again, and he fell like a man fallen with lightning, for he saw for a moment there was his sweet May eating pears high in the tree with his companion of bed, young Valiance the beautiful. But suddenly, as he cried out, Valiance seemed to disappear, for in truth May, seeing what had happened, had him climb down the other side of the pear tree, and then slowly, gracelessly, requiring much help and seeming to slip often, she came down, holding a pear in her hand. And to her husband, who was fuming, she said, I've had such trouble getting a pear. If there hadn't been some sort of magical fairy up there in the branches, I don't think I could have done it at all. My dear, I saw what you were doing. That was no fairy, that was... Oh, you can see. Oh, joy is this. You must have seen in an instant that fay that helped me so, that gave me pears up in the tree. And the shock of that sight rendered you insensible, my husband. But let us just be joyful that you can see again, that you do not need to bind me, that we may go hand in hand back up to your halls in the city. And so saying, she took his hand and led him up the path, out of the orchard, closing the gate carefully, up into the city. And so afraid was he of the wild orchard that could strike a man blind and give him his sight again when he wanted it not. Old November stayed in the city, even if May, when the mood took her, came down with her 2 sets of keys to the garden to meet Valiance or whatever other young man or fay she wanted to, in the wide glades, under the high apple trees. And Titania would smile to see them, leaving the frown for Oberon alone.